Hello! Today I'm going to teach you what a linking sound is in English. No idea? Well, have you ever spent hours and hours and hours learning vocabulary, then you've spoken with a native speaker, heard something and said, "What did they say?" Then you ask them, they tell you, and you knew all of the words, so why didn't you understand it? Well, one of the main reasons for this is because of linking sounds in English. Let me give you an example. 2 eggs. 2 eggs. Now I'm saying these words separated, but when I say them together, I say 2 eggs. 2 eggs. Did you notice the difference? I put in a W sound. 2 eggs. This creates more fluid speech. So if you want to speak more fluidly in English and also understand native speakers better because you can recognise those linking sounds, then watch this video. Now, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content. Now, I'm quickly going to get my cup of tea and then tell you about a great pronunciation app. Okay, I'm just going to sit down for this one. Down here. How can you sound like an English native speaker? Well, I personally recommend Bold Voice. Bold Voice is an amazing app that can help you to improve your English pronunciation, and it's fun to use. Let me show you how. First, there's a short quiz where you read a text out loud, the app evaluates you and gives you your accent score. Once you know your starting point, the app creates a study plan for you, and this is personalised to your native language, so you work on the hardest sounds based on your language. I love these videos by Hollywood accent coaches like Elisa here. She will show you how to make each sound in English by showing you the position of your tongue, how to use your breath, and all of the mechanics that make up sounds in English. Then you're ready to put what you've learned into practice. Let's try this word, advance. First, I'll say it with poor pronunciation. Advance. Advance. Okay, so first it shows me all the parts of the word that I got wrong. So it says my S sound sounded like a ch, which is exactly what I did deliberately. Now, let's try and say it correctly. Advance. Advance. Pretty good score that time. When you hear that ding, you know you've done well. And now it's time to practice with more real-life conversations. The app does focus on the American accent, but it's relevant for anyone who wants to learn to speak with a clear, easy-to-understand English. And for less than $10 a month to carry your own personal coach around in your pocket, not bad. Right, okay, let's get started. Now there are 4 main times that we get linking sounds in English. I'm going to go through each one, give you some examples, and there'll be a test at the end just to check what you've learnt. Now, the first main time is when our first word ends with a consonant and the next word starts with a vowel. You'll notice this a lot with phrasal verbs, because phrasal verbs are a verb plus a preposition, and prepositions often start with vowels. In, on, under, over, above, etc. So, for example, take up. Take up. When I put them together, it becomes take up. Take up. Just like this here. Cup. Take up. Take up. I take up a new sport. I take up a new sport. Or we could have come over. When we put them together, we get come over. Come over. So these two words are linked. The M from the first word, which is not the last letter, but it's the last sound, most importantly. Come over. Come over. So it joins with that vowel in the next word. Now, this is not something that English speakers do consciously. We don't think about it. It's just the position of our mouth. It's comfortable and naturally it happens. Come over, come over, come over. It just happens. These words join together and we get these linking sounds, and it can make it harder to recognise them. Another example is fight about. They fight about the competition. They fight about the competition. Fight about. Fight about. So again, this linking. Now those were 3 phrasal verb examples, but you get this on many occasions. For example, a very obvious one, have a. I have a cat. I have a cat. Not I have a cat, I have a cat. And have a sounds like one word, but it's not. But that linking makes it sound like that. Pear is. Pear is. The pear is green. The pear is green. Pear is green. Or van outside. There is a van outside. There's a van outside. Van outside. Van outside. There's a van outside. So this is the first time that we link our words, when we've got a consonant at the end of one word or a consonant sound joining with a vowel sound at the beginning of the next word. Let's have a look at our next rule. So our next one is when the word ends in a consonant and the next word starts with the same consonant. For example, put together, put together, put together. We completely drop the T in the first word. It becomes put together, put together, put together, put together. There's just one T when we say these words together, when we put them together. For example, I put together the wardrobe. I put together the wardrobe. Not, I put together the wardrobe. I put together the wardrobe. Which is not wrong, but it's not as natural or fluid when we're speaking in a slightly more fast way. Or sometimes when I look at a hotel or an apartment for going on holiday, I might like to see if there's a hot tub. A hot tub. That would be really nice, a hot tub. So again, hot ends with a T and tub starts with a T. So we end up dropping the T from hot and it just becomes hot. A hot tub. A hot tub. Or this style. This style. So this ends with an S, style starts with an S, so we drop that S from the this, and we just keep the one on the style. This style, this style, this style. They join together. I really like this style of dress. Now, one important thing I want you to remember is don't think about this as a problem of learning lots of rules to understand English, but think of it as something that you can be aware of, but you don't have to sit down and learn this rule by rule. What you really need to do is just open your ears and listen. Listen to native speakers talking and see if you can recognise these moments when the words link together. And when you start to do that, then you're thinking of English as sounds and not individual pieces of vocabulary from a book, which is one of the problems that everyone has when we learn language. We learn it as isolated sounds, isolated words, and we don't think of how they fit together. So when we actually talk to people and listen to them, when the words are all put together like a jigsaw, we can't understand them because they've changed and they've transformed. So, our third rule is very similar to our second rule. So our second rule was when there is a consonant and another consonant and they are the same. T and T, S and S, etc. But this one is when we have two consonants which are similar or are produced in a similar place in the mouth. So, for example, need to. I need to go to the shop. Or I need to go to the shop. I need to go to the shop. So, what happens? Our D is dropped, or it becomes incredibly softened, so we almost can't hear it, and it's I need to, I need to, I need to, I need to, I need to go to the shop, I need to have a drink. Or we could have quick girl, she is a quick girl, she is a quick girl, she is a quick girl. So in this situation, we're dropping that k sound on the end of quick, and we're just saying quick girl, she's a quick girl, she's a quick girl. Or that k is very, very soft and almost imperceptible. If something's imperceptible, it means we cannot hear it, or we cannot see it, or we cannot sense it. We could also have alright day. It's an alright day. It's an alright day. Alright day. Here the T is completely dropped. Alright day. Alright day. It's an alright day. Now it's a little bit harder for this rule to recognise when to do this, because some of these sounds like k in quick and g in girl, they don't seem very similar, but they're produced in a similar place in the mouth, k, g, and so the position is so close that quite often it's quite easy just to drop that first sound, or to reduce it a lot. For this rule, I would really recommend just listening to other people speaking and see if you can hear it. Once you recognise that you can start to hear that happening, then it will be easier to start to produce it yourself. So our fourth one is vowel to vowel. This is our fourth rule. When we have a vowel, A, E, I, O, U, or Y, and another vowel in the next word at the beginning, A, E, I, O, U, or Y. For example, say okay. Say okay. I say okay to my student. I say okay to my student. Now what happens? When we have two vowels next to each other, we often introduce a y sound. Y. Or a w sound. In this case, what is it? Is it a y or a w? Say okay. It's a y. Say okay. Say okay. Because our mouth is in that A position, and then we've got to go to a O, we naturally produce a y sound in it. Say okay. Say okay. What about this phrase, which you'll use every day? I am. I am. I am. I am a good cook. Again, we introduce a y. Not I am, but I am. I am. I am a good cook. Or what about this one? 2 apples. 2 apples. I have 2 apples. So here, we're not introducing that y, we're introducing that w. 2 apples. 2 apples. Or go over. Go over. Let's go over that. Go over. Go over that. It sounds like go wover. Go wover. Now we can also have this in single words, like the word throughout. So throughout, because it has these 2 syllables, throughout, the through ends in an oo, a vowel sound, and the out starts with a vowel sound, ow. And when we say those, throughout, we introduce a little W to connect those sounds because of the position of our mouth. Through, ow, through, wow, throughout. So it's time to test what you've learned. Now for this, I'm going to read you a very short text, and I want you to listen which pairs of words are linked by linking sounds, and I'll tell you after. So, here's the text. Hi, my name's Archie. I'm an English teacher. I started teaching at the end of 2013, almost 10 years ago, and I began on YouTube 1 year ago, and it's been a great adventure so far. And again, hi, my name's Archie. I'm an English teacher. I started teaching at the end of 2013, almost 10 years ago, and I began on YouTube 1 year ago, and it's been a great adventure so far. So, first of all, we have a link between my name's and Archie. Name's Archie. My name's Archie. It becomes my name Zarchi. Zarchi. But my name is not Zarchi, my name is Archie. but that's what you really hear. My name's Archie. My name's Archie. Then we have Iman. Iman. Not I'm an, but Iman. Also notice that the an becomes a schwa and we say un. I'm an English teacher. I'm an English teacher. I started teaching at the end of 2013. So here we've got two. We've got the end of, the end of, the end of. Those three words almost sound like one word. The end of. The ends with a vowel and end starts with a vowel. And we connect that with a y sound. The end, the end, y, the end. And then we connect the D of the end with the O of the end of. The end of. The end of. Isn't that amazing? The end of. The end of. You can say that word and it sounds like the end of. But it's the end of. The end of 2013. Almost 10 years ago. Almost 10 years ago. We got two here again. Almost 10. Almost 10. So we've got that situation of a consonant at the end of almost, the T, and the T at the beginning of 10. So we drop the T from almost, and it becomes almost 10. Almost 10. Years ago. Years ago. And again, the S here, this S joins the A on the next word. Years ago. Years ago. Almost 10 years ago. And I began on YouTube 1 year ago. So there are two here. I began on. So it's not began on, but began on. I began on YouTube 1 year ago. 1 year ago. Again, year ago. And it's been a great adventure so far. And it's been a great adventure so far. Okay, so, sorry, you're thinking I'm crazy. I'm saying them like crazy. Now I'm going to read it one more time. Listen to all of those sounds again. Hi, my name's Archie. I'm an English teacher. I started teaching at the end of 2013. Almost 10 years ago. And I began on YouTube 1 year ago. And it's been a wonderful adventure so far. Okay, I changed it from great to wonderful, but both are true. So that's it for my video today on linking sounds. I hope that cleared up some of your doubts. Or, if you didn't have a clue what a linking sound was, now you know. You can put this knowledge to the test by listening to native speakers when you're watching a video, when you're speaking with someone, and seeing, can you hear some of those connections? Furthermore, try practicing some of these words with linking sounds that you can see around me right now, and start to use them in conversation. It'll be interesting for you. Thanks very much for joining me today. Remember, do subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye everyone. And I began on YouTube. I began on YouTube. I began on YouTube 1 year ago, and it's been a great journey, a great adventure.